A black girl asked to use the military shooting range, and the colonel laughed in her face. But when she picked up the rifle, no one expected what happened next. By sunset, she had broken every Navy SEAL record in history. Sierra's shoes crunched on the gravel as she approached the gates of the military base, her heart hammering in her chest. She clutched the folded letter in her pocket, the final thing her older brother ever sent her before he died in Afghanistan. It read, "Make them see you, kid. Make them know your name." Sierra was 19. She had no badge, no training papers, just her name, her mind, and a heart full of fire. She had driven all night, slept in her car, and now stood outside the base known for preparing elite SEAL candidates because she had one mission: to touch the same ground her brother once trained on, to shoot on the same range, to prove, even for a moment, that she belonged. But the moment she walked in, the looks started. "Someone's lost," a young cadet muttered under his breath. Another laughed. "Is this a take-your-daughter-to-work day?" Then came the voice that made her freeze, stern, gruff, and coated in arrogance. "You," said a tall white man in full uniform, stepping out of the shadows, "who gave you permission to be on my range?" Colonel Whitaker. He looked her up and down, his lip curling. "You here to film a TikTok or something? We don't hand out rifles to tourists." Sierra stood straight. "I came to shoot, sir. I want to use the range. Just one round." The colonel stared at her as if she had insulted his ancestors. "And you think we hand military-grade weapons to anyone who walks in with a smile?" Sierra pulled the folded letter from her pocket and held it out. "It was my brother's dying wish. He trained here. He was Corporal Matthew Dorsey." The colonel snatched the letter. His eyes flicked over it. Something in his face changed, but not enough. "Corporal Dorsey," he muttered. "I remember him. Good shot. Shame about the IED." He looked back at Sierra. "Fine. You want to embarrass yourself? One shot, one target, then you leave." The range went silent. The other cadets stopped their drills. A few started recording on their phones. They expected her to fumble, to drop the weapon, to cry. Sierra took the rifle with steady hands, adjusted the scope, breathed in, then fired. Crack! The bullet sliced through the air and struck dead center. A stunned silence. The colonel frowned. "Try it again." She did. Another bullseye. This time even the cadets stared. "Who taught you to shoot like that?" one whispered. "My brother," Sierra said quietly, "and Payne." The colonel stepped forward, jaw tight. "You think 2 lucky shots mean you belong here? This is a SEAL prep facility. You have not seen the timed course, the rope climb, the water gauntlet, the crawl under fire." Sierra met his glare. "Then let me see it." He leaned in. "You will not last 5 minutes." She said nothing. But when the clock started ticking, no one, not even Colonel Whitaker, was prepared for what this quiet black girl was about to do. The buzzer sounded. Colonel Whitaker crossed his arms, already smirking. Clock's running, she'll trip on the first net. But Sierra's body moved like it remembered pain, like it knew struggle. Her legs fired forward, her breath steady, her mind repeating her brother's words. "Pain is not your enemy. Quitting is." The cadets expected stumbles. She launched over the first wall like it was built for her. "She's fast," one of the trainees muttered, almost annoyed. The colonel's eyes narrowed. "She has speed, but she'll gas out." The second obstacle, crawling under razor wire through live mud. Sierra dropped to the ground, dragged herself forward, her elbows tearing into the wet clay, eyes locked on the exit. A murmur rolled through the crowd. Is she pacing herself? No one trained her. But Sierra had studied grainy videos of SEAL drills for years. She mimicked each movement, rewound every clip of her brother's graduation video until her phone screen cracked. Obstacle 3, rope climb, 20 feet vertical. The same one that made half the cadets fail last week. Colonel Whitaker turned to his aide. "Set the emergency medics on standby. She'll fall." But she did not fall. She soared. Hands blistering, muscles screaming, she reached the top, and before they could blink, descended like she was weightless. "She's already halfway done," someone gasped. The colonel's smirk vanished completely. "Check the timer," he snapped. "She's ahead of SEAL candidate number 2's record. That's impossible." Then came the water gauntlet, the true separator. It was cold, brutal, with barriers designed to disorient and exhaust. Sierra hit the water and vanished beneath it. Seconds passed. Too long. The colonel whispered, "Told you." Then she exploded out of the water, gasping once, then charging forward. Each barrier she dove under, pushed through, climbed over. Her hands bled, her legs shook, but she kept moving. When she reached the final sprint, 2 cadets started cheering. Others joined. "Go, girl! She's gonna break the record!" The colonel stared in silence, jaw clenched, arms no longer crossed. And then she crossed the finish line. The buzzer blared. Silence, then the timer beeped. She had beaten the SEAL course record by 8 full seconds. The crowd exploded. Some cadets ran to her. One handed her a towel. Another just stood there, mouth open. She barely registered them. Her eyes searched for one man, Colonel Whitaker. He walked towards her slow. Everyone watched. He stopped 2 feet away, looked her dead in the eye. "You broke every rule in the book. No paperwork, no clearance, no training sponsor." Then, softer, "You also broke the SEAL record." Sierra whispered, "I did it for my brother." The colonel looked at her bleeding hands, her mud-streaked face, then said something no one expected. "Meet me at my office, 0600 hours. "For what?" He hesitated. "To discuss your future." But as he walked away, he said something under his breath, something Sierra would never forget. "She shoots like a ghost and runs like war." But what happened the next morning, when the Pentagon got involved, would shock even him.
Colonel Whitaker sat behind his desk at 5:59 a.m., staring at the phone on his desk like it might explode. He had not slept. The base was buzzing after what happened the day before. Cadets were talking like they had witnessed a legend. But the colonel, he could not decide if he felt proud or threatened. At exactly 0600, Sierra knocked once and stepped inside. She looked different now. Not physically, still in the same torn pants, same scuffed boots, but her posture had changed. Her silence carried weight. "Sit," the colonel said, motioning to the chair in front of his desk. "We have a situation." She stayed standing. He raised an eyebrow. "You broke a course record that has not been touched in over a decade. Our cameras caught every second. I sent the footage to a few people I trust. SEAL Command, training evaluators, and the Pentagon." Sierra blinked. "Why?" "Because they thought it was doctored. They accused me of manipulating the footage." He leaned forward. "Then they called back at 4 a.m. and said one sentence I never thought I'd hear. 'We want to know who this girl is.'" He let that hang in the air. Sierra whispered, "I told you who I was. I am Matthew Dorsey's sister." "Yes, but what I want to know is, how did you do that? Who trained you?" Sierra looked down at her hands. "Pain, grief, and my brother's journal." That made the colonel pause. She continued softly, "He left me everything, his notes, his patterns. I memorized the drills he wrote, built obstacles in the woods, carried bricks in a backpack until my legs collapsed. I never stopped. Not when they mocked me, not when they said I was a girl or black or weak. I trained because the world told me not to." The colonel rubbed his forehead. "You know what happens if the Pentagon gets involved, right?" She nodded. "They will test me." He nodded grimly. "They already are testing. I just got word. 3 retired SEALs are flying in today. By sunset, they want you on the range. But not just shooting. They want a full simulation." Sierra said nothing. "You do not have to do this," he said, his voice softer now. "You do not owe anyone anything." Sierra finally sat. Her hands still trembled from the adrenaline. "I owe my brother." Just then the colonel's phone rang. He picked it up, listened for a moment, then went pale. He slowly placed the receiver down. "They moved the timeline up." Sierra looked up. "They're already here. 3 SEAL veterans, fully geared, and they requested live fire. They want to compete against you." Sierra's heart skipped. "They do not believe what they saw, and they do not want a rematch. They want to prove you are nothing but a fluke." The colonel leaned in. "Are you ready for that?" Sierra stood. "I was born ready." As she walked toward the door, he called after her. "You beat cadets yesterday, girl. But those men out there, they have been to war." She paused, turned slowly, and said the one thing that would make him fall silent. "So have I. Every single day." What happened that night on the shooting field would become one of the most watched, recorded, and whispered about moments in SEAL base history. Because they brought in legends to break her, but instead she broke every single record they ever respected. The sun had begun to set, casting gold across the dried dirt of the training range. 3 retired Navy SEALs stood in full gear, silent and unreadable. War-hardened men, battle-tested, muscles like stone, and eyes that had seen death more than once. Across from them stood Sierra. No badge, no uniform, just a 19-year-old black girl with blood on her knuckles, fire in her heart, and a photograph of her brother folded inside her back pocket. Colonel Whitaker addressed the growing crowd. He said, "This is not a game." One SEAL, a tall man with a scar down his face, stepped forward. "She will be evaluated under full SEAL pressure." The gasps from the watching cadets echoed across the range. "You mean with you?" "No," the scarred man replied. "Against us." Sierra said nothing. She only nodded. The buzzer sounded, and she vanished into the course. What happened next would be talked about in whispered awe. First station, timed sniper shot. Sierra dropped low, aimed, fired. Bullseye. She moved like a shadow, faster than the SEALs expected. She slipped through narrow trenches, scaled vertical walls with bleeding hands, and made tactical decisions that forced the SEALs to pivot mid-course. At the urban combat module, she cleared the room before they even entered. One SEAL muttered, "She's reading the terrain like she wrote it herself." At the water tunnel, where visibility dropped to 0, Sierra swam blind and still emerged first. It was not just physical. It was tactical. She was not reacting, she was leading. When the final target zone came into view, Sierra dropped behind cover, heart racing, then took 3 breath-steady shots. Every round hit center. The timer blared. It was over. The SEALs emerged 30 seconds later, breathing hard, faces unreadable. Colonel Whitaker stepped forward, lips tight. "He beat you." The scar-faced SEAL looked at Sierra, then slowly removed his patch, the one signifying completion of Hell Week, the SEAL's hardest phase, and placed it on the table beside her. "She earned this, and I do not say that lightly." Silence gripped the entire base. One cadet started clapping, then another, then every single person standing at the range. The colonel stepped up. His voice was different now, lower, humbled. "Sierra Dorsey, you broke the SEAL obstacle course record, then the live fire simulation record, and now the one thing I never thought anyone could." He turned toward the base wall, lined with plaques. Every SEAL, every legend, every record holder. Then he reached for a blank nameplate. "Make room," he said. "A new name is coming." He turned back to her, voice breaking slightly. "And it belongs to a girl whose brother believed in her before any of us did." Sierra blinked away tears as she stepped forward. In that moment,
She was not just her brother's little sister. She was not just the girl the colonel laughed at. She was not just the black girl who dared to walk onto a battlefield where no one thought she belonged. She was the record holder, the warrior, the legacy.